Okay. And in case you don't know me, I'm Kelly. I'm Culikid's executive director. I'm in these classes a lot. So if you're new and you want to cook with us again, you'll probably see me. But today we are joined by Sophia, who is our dietetics intern, who will be leading our cooking class. She's going to get us started with some introductions and then lead our cooking class as well. So I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Like Kelly said, I am one of the interns that works with Culikid, and I'm very excited to cook with you all today. So before we get started, I just want to go over a few things and then we can get started cooking. Just a little bit about Culikid. We are a nonprofit that provides healthy culinary programs for people of all abilities. Our programs not only teach cooking skills, but also healthy habits, as well as social independence and motor skills. Like Kelly had mentioned, this class is being recorded. So if you don't want to be in the recording, that's totally fine. You can just turn your camera off or let Kelly know if you don't want to be in any screenshots or pictures, because we will be taking some of those throughout the class as well. Everyone is muted, but you can use the chat to communicate with us and each other, or you can briefly unmute yourself and ask a question if you have one. If you're on your computer, the chat button is just right in the middle, or if you're on your phone, if you click the more button and then the chat button, you should be able to get right to the chat. So if you guys want to try using it now, you can tell me your name and what mix-ins you're using for the quiche recipe today. And then while we have those answers coming in, this is our last cooking class for the year, but we do have many fun classes planned for 2022 as well. So make sure to check back on our website or look out for emails coming from us as well about classes coming next year. For any adults, we have a cookies and cocktails in-person fundraiser next Wednesday, December 15th. And the link will be sent in the chat to that if you're interested in attending. And if you're cooking with someone at home, have them take pictures of you cooking and send them to us and tag us on social media. We'd love to see all the pictures. So with all that being said, we can get started now. So the first thing we're going to want to do is preheat our oven. So both of our recipes are going to be cooked at 375 degrees. So if everyone can preheat your ovens to 375 now, we can get that ready. And then give me a thumbs up when you guys are all done with that. All right, I see one thumbs up from Jackie.
Three hundred 350 degrees, right?
375 degrees.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Is anyone else still working on that? Josh, I see your thumbs up. When I see yours, thank you. All right, we're going to keep going. If you guys need more time, just let me know. So the next thing that we're going to do, we are going to take both of our pans. I am personally using 2 tin pans just to make my life a little easier with cleanup later. And they also fit right next to each other in the oven very nicely. So we're going to take both of our pans and we're going to spray them with some cooking spray.
I have a question.
Yes.
About tea pan. And tea pan only can you use once, or can you recycle? Can you use them more than once?
Sorry, what was your question?
My question is about tea pan. Tea pan can you repeated using? So we can use not after this one, we can use another in another time.
The one that you're using, so it's like disposable, Sophia?
Yes.
But the question is, can you actually reuse it?
Oh yeah, you can definitely reuse these. You can always just wash them out and then reuse them again. You can either get rid of them after one use or you can keep using them. So they're great to reuse as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So we are going to spray both of our pans. So you're going to want to make sure you get the whole pan. And then you can set them both aside once you're all done. Joshy, you're all set.
So we just had a couple of people join. So all that we've done so far is we've preheated our oven to 375 degrees and we've sprayed 2 pans with non-stick spray. Okay, I think we are ready for the next step. Oh, thanks for that thumbs up, Maria.
So the next thing that we are going to do was also for both recipes. And then after this, we'll focus on one. So for both recipes together, we need a total of 14 eggs. Our French toast recipe uses 4 eggs and our quiche recipe uses 10 eggs. So what we're going to do now is just crack all of those eggs at once so we get that step out of the way. So we're going to make sure we have 2 separate bowls and a little bit of a bigger bowl for the one with 10 eggs and a little bit of a smaller bowl for the one with 4 eggs. And the way that we are going to do this, you want to make sure when you crack eggs, it's kind of like knocking on a door. So you want to make sure that you use enough pressure, but you don't want to hit it too hard so that your egg explodes all over the counter. So what we're going to do is we're going to crack an egg into a smaller bowl. And then that way, if any shells are in the bowl, we can pick them out before we add them to the larger bowl. So each egg we're going to crack into the small bowl and then put them in our larger bowl. So you're going to tap it lightly and then crack over the small bowl. That way you can catch any shells if necessary. And then you can add into the larger bowl. And now remember, one bowl is getting 4 eggs and the other bowl is getting 10 eggs. So again, we're going to tap gently, crack into the smaller bowl, and then add into the larger bowl. So we can all work on that right now.
Okay, so we're doing a little bit of multitasking today. We're working on 2 recipes at once, and often when we multitask, it's easiest to batch our tasks together. So we're going to crack all of our eggs instead of separating them into 2 different tasks. So just try to keep track. One bowl is getting 4, and a different bowl is getting 10. And that's in the chat for you too, if you forget.
And say you do get a bit of shell in the bowl, that's totally fine. A great way to be able to get that shell out of the bowl is to actually use your eggshell. So if you see right now, I actually got a bit of eggshell. I don't know if you can see, but I got a bit of eggshell in my bowl. So I'm going to take my egg that I already cracked, and if you just scoop it in, it will perfectly take out that eggshell for you without taking out much of the egg.
Okay, great job, everybody. This one is tricky, but it's really good practice. So keep on going.
Then once you're done cracking your eggs as well, you can just take a second to rinse your hands off. I know I have a little bit of egg on my hands.
Yep, so you definitely want to wash your hands and your counter afterwards because you don't want to consume raw egg. So make sure you wash your hands thoroughly and wash off your counter. And then when you have done that, when you have your 4 eggs in one bowl and 10 eggs in another, give a thumbs up so we know you're ready. Thanks, Caitlin. Okay, and I just shared the 2 recipes in the chat just in case you signed up after we sent our email with the links, so you can view the links there. View the recipes there, rather. Thanks, Joshy. Okay, does anybody need more time? Caitlin and Joshy are the only screens I can see, so I'm going to assume that when they are done, that everybody is done. But if you ever need more time before we move on, then just let us know. So I think we can move on, Sophia.
Okay, great. So now we're going to focus on the French toast recipe. So we're going to keep our bowl in front of us with the 4 eggs, and we can set aside the one with 10 eggs for now. So we're just going to focus on the bowl with the 4 eggs. But before we add anything to that, first we're going to soak some cranberries in orange juice. So the first thing we'll have to do is measure a 1/3 cup of orange juice into a measuring cup. So everyone can do that right now. So we want a 1/3 cup of the orange juice. And then you guys can give me a thumbs up when that is all ready, and we can do the next step for the cranberries.
Nice, Caitlin.
I see your thumbs up. Thanks, Maria. And what this is going to do is just give our cranberries a little bit of an orange taste. So we're kind of seeping the orange juice into the cranberries for a short time. So it gives us an extra bit of flavor. Joshy, I see yours. All right, if anyone else needs more time, we can wait. Otherwise, we're gonna get into measuring our cranberries. So now what we're gonna do is take 1/4 cup measurement. We can grab a 1/4 cup of those cranberries. I'm gonna have to pour mine in there. And then we're gonna take those cranberries and just dump them right into the orange juice.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thanks, Maria. Ryu, I see your message in the chat that you're all set. Joshy, thank you. All right, I think we're all good now. So what we're gonna do now is just take this container with the orange juice and the cranberries, and we can just set that aside for now. We'll let those soak while we focus back on our egg bowl. So we're gonna now work with the bowl that has the 4 eggs in it, right? So the first thing we are going to add to this is 1/2 cup of heavy cream or any dairy-free alternative. For me, I am using oat milk because there was no dairy-free half and half at the store today, or heavy cream. So I'm just going to use oat milk, but you guys can use heavy cream or a dairy-free alternative. And we're going to measure 1/2 cup of that. And then once that is all measured out, you can just pour it right into the eggs. So then give us a thumbs up once you guys have poured your heavy cream into the eggs.
Thanks, Caitlin.
How many cream should I use?
You should use 1/2 cup.
1/2 cup.
One half. Okay, that's the right measure.
Perfect, Joshy. All right. So now we are going to measure a bunch of spices and add those into our mixture. So the first thing we're going to measure is 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. So I'm going to take my measuring spoon I have an open top to my cinnamon, so I'm just gonna stick my measuring spoon in there and kind of tap it on the sides so that we have a level top, and then just add that right in. And we're gonna do that twice. And then once everyone has added their cinnamon, we will go on and add some more spices. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Joshi. Thanks, Maria. Thanks, Caitlin. All right, those are all the screens I can see. So if you guys need any extra time, just let me know. Otherwise, we're going to add some more spices next. So the next two we're going to do at the same time because they have the exact same measurement. So we're going to do 1 teaspoon of ground ginger and 1 teaspoon of allspice. So we can do the exact same thing and just scoop it in there. And add that right to our bowl. You're doing this with ground ginger and ground allspice. Thank you, Joshi. I see your thumbs up. Thumbs up from Maria. Thumbs up from Caitlin. All right, if everyone is all set, then we can go ahead and add our next spice, which is ground cloves, and that is going to be 1/2 teaspoon. So on my measuring spoon, I'm going to find the 1/2 teaspoon, so the 1/2, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that we just did. Tap it on the sides and pour it right in. Thank you, Maria.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Joshi.
All right, if everyone is all set, then we can add our next spice, which is ground nutmeg. So for the nutmeg, we are going to do 1/4 teaspoon. So we're going to go and find a 1/4 teaspoon. It's a little bit smaller than the 1/2 teaspoon that we just used. And we're going to do the same thing again.
Thanks, Caitlin. So speedy. Oh, I think we're using fresh nutmeg over there.
Very nice. Thank you, Maria. Thanks, Joshi. All right, so now we have one more thing to add, and that's going to be 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So we're going to go back to our 1/2 teaspoon and do the same thing with salt. I have my salt poured into a little bit of a ramekin because it's a little bit of a harder container to get it out of. So I'm just dipping it in there and getting my 1/2 teaspoon of salt.
And that's a trick that you could use if you ever have problems getting something out of a container or it's too heavy to pour. So this can be for something like salt that pours quickly, or even just something that comes in a really heavy container, maybe like olive oil, that you can always pour a little bit and then measure from there. So thumbs up when you've got 1/2 teaspoon of salt.
Thanks,
Maria,
Marita.
thank you.
Joshy.
Caitlin, did your salt just go in? Thumbs up when you're ready. Nice.
Perfect.
Thank
All
you.
right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to whisk this mixture together to create our custard for our gingerbread French toast bake. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a whisk, and in order to make sure this mixture is completely combined, you can either go with a circular motion or you can just kind of go back and forth. And you'll see that the egg yolks will start to break and bind with everything else. And you'll just want to whisk this all together until you have one mixture that's completely combined. And then you can scrape the sides of the bowl as well. You can see there's kind of some spices that come up on the side. So you want to make sure you scrape those off so they combine with the rest of the mixture. So I'm pretty much going with the back and forth method to whisking, but you can either do that or you can do it in a circle, whatever you prefer. And then once that is all mixed together, give us a thumbs up.
Nice, Joshy. And Caitlin, great. Sometimes those eggs can be tricky to break up, so make sure you don't have any yolks left. And you want to have all your spices all mixed in. Thanks, Maria. I think we're good.
All right, great. So now we can set that mixture aside for a little bit. It should look like, mine kind of looks like a brown mixture, and there's still a little bit of spots in it from the spice, but that really isn't going to blend any more than that. So if you have kind of like a brown mixture that you see some sort of darker brown spots, you are all set. So then once that is all good, we can set that aside. We're going to let that just sit for a little bit, and we're going to work on our bread. So everyone can then get their bread out. Mine is right behind me. I am using ciabatta bread. You can use any kind of bread that you like. So we're going to put our bread on a cutting board right in front of us. And we're going to cut this bread into little small cubes. And the knife that is good for cutting bread is called a serrated knife. As you can see, it has a little bit of, I guess to call this, indents, which helps cut through something that's a little bit denser like bread. And when we cut this, it's going to be a little bit different than the way we would usually cut. So I know we've talked about in previous classes how when we cut, it's kind of a rocking motion, but because this bread is a little bit harder to cut through, we're going to use more of a sawing motion. And that's what's going to help with these little indents in the knife. So you're going to be very careful, make sure your hands are out of the way because knives are sharp. So we're going to take it and we're going to kind of saw back and forth. And as you can see, that's kind of cutting through the crust at the top. And at the bottom, you got to push down a little farther to get it through. And now it's going to give me my slice of bread. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that slice and lay it with flat side down. I'm going to cut that slice in half, again, using that sawing motion. And then from there, I'm going to turn it around and then cut those two. Now I have two little halves, right? So I'm going to place those together and then I'm just going to cut little cubes using that. So since we all have a whole loaf of bread to do, this will probably take a little while, but that's okay. We're going to take as much time as we need to make sure that we do this safely. So then now that I have my cubes of bread, what we can do is grab one of our pans from before, and we can just throw those cubes of bread into that pan. So now I'm going to work on my next slice of bread. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to saw.
Sophia, there's just a question, and so
Yes.
maybe you can show what you've already done. Maria asked, how big are the cubes?
Okay, let's see. I don't know exactly what size it would be, but kind of like this big. So if you lay them in the hand, it kind of fits right in the center of your palm. So you want them to be like, they can be a little bit bigger than what a typical bite size would be.
Thanks.
So again, now I'm going to lay my bread flat, cut it down the middle, and then cut the little pieces from there. And we're going to do that for the whole loaf of bread. Just going to slice it all really quick. And if you don't have the serrated knife, that is totally fine. You can use just a typical knife, but then make sure you're still using that sawing motion. It just might take a second longer to get through that initial crust of the bread, but you should be able to cut through it just fine. And you can see too, when I'm cutting, I'm using a claw grip. So that's protecting my fingers from being cut by the knife.
So I know Sophia already pointed out that she's putting her bread into her pan when she's done, but I want to point out why it's important is because then your cutting board is going to become too crowded. You're not going to have enough room to work and slice, and it's going to become difficult and unsafe. So you want to make sure you have an organized cutting board and have a place where your finished bread can go. I see everybody hard at work. So great job, everybody. I feel like I can smell that ciabatta through the screen. Like it looks so good.
It's my favorite kind of bread. And the great thing about using a nice crusty loaf of bread, whatever bread you are using, is it's really going to soak up that custard that we made. So it's going to have a really nice crisp at the top and be nice and soft on the inside. And it's going to be so flavorful. Everyone is going to be a master bread slicer at the end of this, going through a whole loaf of bread. All right.
Okay, so Sophia just finished slicing her bread. So when everybody else has finished slicing their bread, let us know with thumbs up. Thank you, Caitlin. Can take some extra time because this is a big step, so don't worry.
If anyone has finished, feel free to show me your pan of bread. This is what mine looks like. Looks like a nice, delicious, I could eat this by itself. I love bread.
I can see people still hard at work, so keep on going. You can do it.
I'm just going to quickly wipe off my cutting board. I know I had a little bit of crumbs and some excess flour on there, so you guys can do that in the meantime.
Yeah, Joshy, do you have a question? Or, oh, you're all done? Awesome. Great, so our two
Thank you,
streams
Joshy.
are done.
All right. So now we're gonna focus our attention back to those cranberries that have been soaking for a little while. So now it's time to take these out of the orange juice. So what we're going to do, I'm gonna bring you over to the sink with me. You're going to need a colander, which is like a little bowl that has all these holes in it. So that way when we pour our orange juice cranberry mixture, the orange juice falls out, but the cranberries stay in there. So what I'm gonna do is place the colander into the sink. See it. Let me hold this up a little bit. So I have my
That's for you,
colander
that
right
works.
there. And I'm going to just pour my mixture into the colander. So like I said, all the orange juice is going to drain out and the cranberries are all set.
Rita was just showing us a strainer, so that works. You just have to hold it by the
Yes, that's
handle instead of
perfect.
placing it. You could even use your fingers really to strain it if you were in a pinch. But you know, if you had any cuts, you might like burn yourself from the acid in the orange juice. So, but that's another option if you needed it.
So once your cranberries are all drained, just give us a thumbs up. Perfect. Thank you guys. So now we're going to take those drained cranberries and we're going to pour them all on top of our bread. So I have my bread pan and I'm just going to sprinkle the cranberries on top.
And see how Sophia's are all spread out. So if yours all came out in a clump, you can use your hands to kind of spread them throughout. And so that way you can get some cranberries in every bite.
And when your cranberries are in your bread, give us a thumbs up and then we can do our last step. Thank you, Caitlin.
Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Joshie. Thank you, Maria. All right, if everyone else is all set, we can get going on our last step. So then we are going to bring back our custard mixture from before, our beautiful brown mixture. We're just going to take this bowl, pour it all on top of the bread. And you can use a spoon to get in there and scrape every last bit. And once you have every part of your custard in there, you can just mix it around to make sure that every piece of bread has some custard mixture on it. So you just take a spoon and just mix everything all up. Oh, I lost a bread. This smells like Christmas morning to me. And once you're done mixing, if you see extra custard at the bottom, that's totally okay because it's going to soak for a little before we put it in the oven with the quiche. So any extra bit on the bottom, the bread will soak up while we let it sit. All right, so my bread is just about fully coated. Once that is all mixed up, we can just set this aside. So if you can tell, every piece of little bread has some of that brown mixture on it, so I know that it's fully mixed and combined. And you can see the cranberries popping through again.
I saw Joshie's thumbs up. Thanks, Joshie. And Caitlin, you too? Nice.
Great
Thank you.
job so far, guys. Okay, so now we're going to let that sit for a little bit and we're going to switch gears and we are going to start working on our quiche. So we're going to bring back that big bowl that had 10 eggs in it. So we're going to bring that in front of us. And then the first thing we're going to do is just whisk these eggs again. So the same thing that we did before. either side to side or in a circle. And now it's a little bit easier to tell when it's fully mixed since it's just eggs. So you're just gonna whisk, whisk, whisk until it's all one big yellow mixture.
Yeah, so when you're whisking, especially for eggs, you want to go nice and fast. So see how Sophia's hand is moving nice and fast back and forth in order to mix those eggs together. That's what you want to try to do too. Thumbs up. Thanks, Joshy.
All right, so now you can see it's one big yellow mixture. So once you all have your eggs whisked, we will add some more stuff into this.
Thumbs up when eggs are whisked. Awesome. Joshy and Caitlin, thank you. And Maria.
All right, great. So now we're going to add a few things into our egg mixture. The first thing we're going to add is 1.5 cups of milk. So again, we're going to take our liquid measuring cup. Once again, I'm using oat milk, but you guys can use whatever milk you want. And we're going to add 1.5 cups. And once you have your milk all measured, you can add it directly into the eggs. Thanks for the thumbs up, Joshy. Thank you, Maria.
Great, Caitlin.
All right, so if everyone's all set, then we can add our next two ingredients. It's going to be salt and pepper. So for salt, we're going to do 1/2 teaspoon again. So I'm going to grab my salt and my measuring spoons. I'm going to go back into that ramekin of salt that I poured out, do 1/2 teaspoon, shake it to level, and pour it right in. And then give us a thumbs up when your salt is in there. Thanks, Caitlin. Maria has thumbs up. Josh, you have a thumbs up. All right, if everyone else is ready to, then we can go ahead and add our pepper. So for our pepper, it's going to be 1/4 teaspoon. My pepper is in a grinder. So what I'm gonna do is just do 3 turns on the grinder. And that's about a 1/4 teaspoon. If you have ground pepper, you can just take that 1/4 teaspoon, measure it like we did the salt, and then dump it in. And then once you have your pepper all added in, give us a thumbs up. Maria's all set. Thanks, Ryu. Thank you, Caitlin. Thanks, Joshi. I know that was a quick step. All right, those are all the screens I can see. So if anyone needs more time, just let me know. Otherwise, we can go ahead and whisk again. So we're going to take our whisk again and just mix in that salt and pepper. Make sure it's fully combined. The salt you won't be able to see, but once you see the little spots of pepper throughout, you will be all set. And the mixture should be a little bit of a lighter yellow since we added in the milk as well. So if you can tell, this is a more of like a pale yellow than it was when it was just the eggs. So once you've whisked, give me a thumbs up and then we can add in our mix-ins. Thank you, Joshi. Thank you, Maria. Thanks, Caitlin. All right, if everyone is ready, then we can all grab our mix-ins. So the best part about this recipe is that you can add whatever you want to make it taste the way that you want to taste. So I'm adding some spinach, some bacon, some onions, some hash browns, and cheddar cheese. So once you have all your mix-ins, we're just going to add them into the bowl. So I'm going to add in my onions. Yes.
Yeah, and we gave measurements in the recipe as a guideline, but you can just go with how much ever you feel like you want. Like if you wanted just a little bit of onions, you could do that. So those are just guidelines. So just put in however much you'd like of each.
Once you have all your mix-ins added, give us a thumbs up. Perfect. I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. Great. So then once you have all your mix-ins in, we're just going to whisk again. This time I would say whisk a slightly more gentle so that we don't crush any of our mix-in ingredients, but you're just going to want to do it until it's fully combined. So you're going to see bits of everything throughout the bowl. And notice how I'm doing it much softer than I was when we were beating the eggs. That way it doesn't all become one mush. All right, and now you can see there's a little bit of everything everywhere. And some of the stuff might get stuck in your whisk, but that's all right. If you just tap it, it should come right out. So then once you have everything mixed together, give us a thumbs up. Thanks, Caitlin.
Caitlin. Joshi.
Joshi. Does anyone else need more time? All right, so then we can go ahead and grab our second greased pan that we sprayed before. Lay that right in front of us. And we're just gonna go ahead and pour in our egg mixture all in the pan.
That looks so yummy.
Just moving it back and forth so that it's spread throughout. I am hungry already.
Mm. Okay, thumbs up for Maria, thanks.
Perfect.
So we pitched this class as breakfast for dinner, but you could also save these in the fridge and have them for breakfast tomorrow. So Sophia, at what point should people stop if they want to save one of these for breakfast tomorrow? Should they bake them?
There's
Should they
two
just
things.
keep?
If you want to save this for breakfast tomorrow, there's two things you can do. You can either put it in the oven now and bake it, and then just reheat whatever leftovers you have tomorrow morning. You can just throw it back in the oven at 375 tomorrow morning, maybe for about 10 minutes, and it should be warmed up. Or if you want to bake the whole thing tomorrow morning, you can just wrap your pan with tin foil on the top and stick it in your fridge overnight. And then tomorrow morning, you can bake the whole thing. And you're going to bake the egg. The quiche bakes for 45 minutes. And the French toast bakes for about 20 minutes. So if you're cooking them both right now, we can throw them both in the oven, and we'll just have to set two separate timers, one for 20 minutes where we'll take out the French toast, and then one for 45 minutes where we'll take out the quiche. Or if you're cooking them separately, there's no need to set two separate timers. You can just set the timer for the recipe that you're cooking. Another great thing that you can do with this is freeze any leftovers. So when I made this recipe last time, I made the quiche and then I cut it all up into individual squares, wrapped them individually, and then froze them, and then just baked them in the oven in the morning when I wanted to eat it. So if you know that you're going to have leftovers and you don't think you're going to eat them right away, you can always freeze them so you can have them one day when you are craving this recipe. Yes, Josh,
Good.
you have a question?
No, you didn't. You gotta ask again.
How can you save this?
So
You can
if you're
hear the
baking
freezer
it
part.
now, the way that you can save it is you bake it and then you cut it up once it's all out of the oven. And then you can wrap the individually cut pieces in some tin foil and then place those in the freezer. And then when you want it, you can take it out of the freezer and put it back in the oven to have as leftovers whenever you want. Or if you want to save the whole pan, you can just put the whole pan in the fridge and then bake it whenever you want. I would say you would probably have to do that within a couple days.
Okay, Alexi, thanks.
And then when
You're welcome.
it will stay a couple days cooked in the fridge as well. So if you're going to finish it in a couple
Yes.
days, you could put those squares into the fridge. But if you're going to take a little bit longer, then freezer is best. I would think that whoever is baking tonight is probably ready at this point. Is everyone ready to go in the oven? Thumbs up.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I'm seeing some head shakes. Yep.
So if we're baking tonight, we're going to want to make sure before we put anything in the oven, we get our oven mitts so that we protect our hands. And we're going to carefully open the oven. Take both pans, put them in. Mine fit right next to each other. If they don't fit right next to each other, you can always put them on a different rack. But you can see mine fit right next to each other. Then you can just close the door and set our two timers. Now remember, our French toast is going to cook for 20 minutes and our quiche is going to cook for 45 minutes. So at the 20-minute timer, we're going to want to take out the French toast. And at the 45-minute timer, we're going to want to take out the quiche.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat so we don't forget.
And then again, if you're not baking tonight, you can just wrap your pans with tin foil and throw them in the oven whenever you are ready to bake.
Oh, I think that's because I just X'd it out. Okay, sorry. I was trying to just double check those timing in the recipes, but I think I X'd it out and that's why I got confused. Okay, so 20 minutes for French toast, 45 for quiche, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so those are in the recipes and we'll resend the recipes tomorrow with some follow-up links for you and including the recording so you can rewatch it if you'd like. And then Maria just asked, how do you tell if they're done cooking? And do you need to cook longer if cooking from the fridge? Great
Those
question.
are both great questions. So if you're cooking them from the fridge, you don't need to cook them any longer. You would do the same times. And then how to tell if they're done. So for the French toast, it's going to be crispy and brown on the top. So once you see that, that's all set. And then the same thing for the quiche bake. That's going to become golden brown on top as well. And if you're watching it while it bakes, you may see the quiche rise a lot. It's going to puff up a little bit, but then once you take it out of the oven and it sits for a little, it'll go back down. So don't be alarmed if you see it rise a lot, but basically both of them will have a nice golden brown top.
Awesome. Great questions. Does anybody else have any questions about finishing or baking or storing any of their bakes today? No? Okay, I think that's it. Any final words for us, Sophia?
I am excited to eat this. That is for sure. I hope everyone had a really great time. I'm so happy to be cooking with everyone today.
Yeah, everyone did a great job. Sophia mentioned this is our last class for the year. So just be on the lookout for news from us in January when we announce our new classes for 2022. We'll continue offering virtual classes. So we look forward to cooking with you all in the new year. Enjoy your holidays and your new year, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you all for
Bye,
coming. Have
everybody.
a great holiday.
Bye, everyone. Take care.